Management of Metro Mass Transit Limited accused former managers of the company of selling off over 300 buses which were declared unserviceable to some individuals and business associates. Plus, later fire outbreak rips through parts of the Dagomba Line slum in Kumasi, reducing several makeshift structures to ash and leaving scores of residents homeless. I'm Kemeni Amano with News Central. The news starts right now. In our first story, Deputy Managing Director of the Metro Mass Transit Limited, Harun Apel-Redu, has revealed that some 313 buses belonging to the company were declared unserviceable in October of 2020 and sold at paltry sums to some individuals barely 2 months to the general elections. Speaking on hot issues, the Deputy MD further alleged that the management of the company at the time deliberately declared these buses unserviceable only to later sell them to cronies and business associates. A just concluded audit report on the issue, he stresses, has been forwarded to the appropriate authorities for action.
Surprisingly, by 2017, when the previous government took the reins of power, Kemi, it will surprise you to know that around 2017, 2018, they declared about 400 plus buses unserviceable. Those buses were scrapped, sold among some persons and individuals associated then to be part of the system then. Then 2 months into the elections, around October, Kemi, could you believe that another 313 buses were sold among some cronies? And surprisingly, when I reviewed the report, I realized that a whole bus of Metro Mass was sold at a paltry 2,500 Ghana cedis.
I see you've been in office for at least 9 months. What are you doing about
Thankfully for us, we commissioned an external auditors to get this issue done once and for all. And they submitted a draft report to us last week for our consideration.
You have found all 300 buses now?
No, we've not found, because those buses have been sold to some cronies. And surprisingly, according to them, for selling 313 buses, they generated 2.9 million. And that money was supposed to go into an account called the bus acquisition account.
This is coming on the back of the urban transportation crisis we've witnessed in the capital city over the last few weeks. Among other things, he spoke about how they are turning things around going forward, but more importantly, the immediate solutions for the public here in the capital city, Accra. He talked about some buses coming on route today and later in the week, making a total of some 20 buses that will come on route to augment and mitigate the impact of the vehicle shortage in the capital city. Harun Apel-Redu is Deputy Managing Director of the Metro Mass Transit Limited. He's joining us now for a bit more on that story about the 313 MMT buses that were sold cheaply weeks to the 2020 polls. Thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. I have had the privilege of seeing the receipts for the selling of these buses. But then again, to explain the point for the understanding of the public, how were these buses sold?
Kevin, let me take this opportunity and say good afternoon to your cherished viewers. Like you rightly put it, can I take your question back again?
Well, I'm asking that you explain to us how these buses were sold, because again, the initial understanding was that each of these 313 buses were sold for 2,500. I have seen the receipts, and it does not reflect that, which you told us on Sunday. So explain to us how these buses were sold.
As you can see, the then managing director actually put together a committee called Board of Survey. And that committee was put together on Wednesday, May 15, 2024. And if you check the receipts that you have, there's one receipt on it that bears the 2,000. I was even quoting 2,500. If you check on the face of the receipt, you could see 2,200 cedis. So that is a vindication. The second aspect has to do with, if you look, the condition of the buses at the time were at various or different degrees. So if you check, the rates also differs. So you can properly situate or know the total cost of those buses. You know, you'll be able to know the total cost of those buses by dividing the total cost by the number of fleets you see on the receipt. If you check, because something they deliberately decided to put about 4 or 5 buses together on one receipt, and they quoted 13,000 on it. Look, let me run you through one or two of them. I have with me here one particular receipt that bears the name Kwame J. Asante. This particular receipt, you could observe that we have 22,000 Ghana cedis. In the 22,000 Ghana cedis, we identify our buses with fleet numbers. So if you check, we have bus with fleet number 2676, bus with fleet number, different one with fleet number 2680, another one with 2682. Those buses, you have to divide the 22,000 by
the 4 buses.
By 3.
By
so
3.
That will give you about plus or minus about 6,000 Ghana cedis for this particular one. You could also observe that in a different, you could also see another receipt. We have this receipt was sent to King Kai.
I see, but Harun, again, I want us to leave out the names, right? I've had the like I said before, the privilege of seeing these receipts, and I can understand what you're saying. But just to clarify the point, only a couple of the buses were sold at 2,200 and 3,000, and those were on those receipts were indicated scraps. So, in what states were these buses when they were sold? Are you able to tell us?
Yes, you see, surprisingly, on the face of the receipt, you could have some with bus registration number 2017. My dear, Metro Mass, we don't purchase even home-use buses. All our purchases are brand new buses. So can you just imagine having a brand new bus in your fleet with registration number 17? There couldn't be any basis for you to sell the bus, with the rate that you see there. Even ordinary Vitz, ordinary Toyota Vitz, if those buses are so, if a Vitz is so dilapidated, will you sell a Vitz at a cheaper rate of say 5,000 or less than 10,000? Obviously no. You never do that. So this is what we felt that serious crime has been perpetrated against the company.
I see. And let's understand clearly what action you're taking in response to that.
Yes, as I indicate to you, we've commissioned an external auditors. Last week, they submitted the draft report to us, and we're supposed to go through, sit down with them, write back to them, for them to furnish us or submit to us the final report. Once the final report is ready, we will upscale it to the powers that be for some prosecutorial action to take place.
Making sure that this does not repeat, particularly with the fleet you have already, and then those that will be coming in.
Again?
I'm saying, how are we making sure that this incidents we've seen, the lack of maintenance, the looking on for the buses to break down and then selling them cheaply to anybody who would show interest, how are we making sure that this does not repeat? What is the system you put in place to ensure that it does not happen again with the current fleet and the fleet to come in?
My dear, as I talk to you, if you check, there's a particular receipt that you have, we have 3,500 for selling this particular bus. And this bus is called John Kerry. We have one currently parked at Tema. This John Kerry was sold last 2 years, and they sold it at 3,000 cedis. As you check, this same John Kerry, when we came, finally this bus is parked on a private person's yard or vicinity. They are long buses that the buses cannot turn. We cannot touch it. By law, we're supposed to use the processes, go to Chief of Staff, Office of President for approval. You've exhausted it, you've taken quotation from SCC. Currently, that particular bus, SCC valued it. Same condition with what they sold at 3,000. SCC valued the same thing, and I think the valuation implementation will be done coming Thursday. The quotation SCC gave was 38,700, almost 40,000 Ghana cedis.
I see.
Meanwhile, they said they sold theirs at 3,000 Ghana cedis. So now, answering back your question, the President, His Excellency, has mandated us and enjoined us to make sure all scrap buses must be subjected to the proper valuation rates from SCC and make sure that we don't change the people of Ghana.
I see. Harun, I want us to look at the current situation. We know that you had told us that some 10 buses were coming in, some 10 buses would be made active this week, particularly today, to help with the urban transportation crisis we are facing right now. Are those buses active as we speak?
Yes, currently, as I speak to you, I'm in the office. I just stepped to the technical department a few minutes ago before stepping back in the office. We are putting in place measures to make sure that, as I promised, last week all the way to this week, we should be able to get not less than 20 buses to be able to help us mitigate the current situation in Accra.
I see, but the 10 that you promised for this week, are they online right now?
Yes. Currently, the buses are routing. And like I told you, those that are routing from other parts of Accra, other parts of the country to Accra, once they arrive this morning, you reroute them again to come and augment the ones that are routing already so that you'll be able to mitigate the situation.
I see. For those that are concerned about the regulations that you shared with us and would say that, look, we've seen the private sector run buses better than, the public sector does. What would be your response to them as to why the public sector is not able to manage, its own buses or fleets as well as the private sector does?
I think that, my dear, it's all about management and leadership and making sure that we discipline ourselves, encourage high moral standards, and bear in mind that we need to leave a legacy for generations yet unborn. I think we've gotten to a stage as a country where you and I, we should be able to do what is right and what tomorrow history will be kind to all of us all. Currently, as I talk to you, we took a tri bus that I failed to mention to you the other time. A tri bus from a private vendor. As we speak, we've routed this bus for the past 6 months. And for the past 6 months, we have generated close to more than 40% of the total cost of the bus. As I talked to you last month, we have paid 30% of the total cost of that bus. By 16 months, which is translated into 1 year, 4 months, we should be able to finish paying for this bus. And this bus is going to be the property of Metro Mass or by extension government of Ghana. So this is what I call leadership. This is what I call discipline. This is what I call making sure that the right things are done so that tomorrow history will be kind to all of us all.
Harun, thank you so much for your time. Harun Apel-Redu is Deputy Managing Director for the Metro Mass Transit Limited. Now, we'll stay on this subject because this afternoon, the Transport Ministry is locked in a crunch meeting with private transport operators as government intensifies efforts to find a lasting solution to the growing challenges in the transport sector. The talks follow earlier engagements with the Vice President and subsequent meetings with the operators that ended inconclusively. The discussions are centered on addressing the scarcity of buses and curbing the arbitrary increase in transport fares, especially during rush hours. Well, let's discuss these first. Noble Crosby Annan is our correspondent with details on this very important meeting. Noble, talk to us. What are you gleaning from the meeting?
Well, Kemini, so this is a closed-door meeting that is currently ongoing. The meeting, we understand, started at about 9 a.m. and it has all the stakeholders, if you like, that are very critical to the proper functioning of the transportation sector in the country. The Transport Minister himself, we understand, is the one chairing the meeting. Other transport operators are there. GPRTU, for instance, one major stakeholder, is also there. And some other groups of people. We understand Concerned Drivers is represented there. And then the Long Track Association also represented there. The agenda is one, that they should find a proper concrete way to solve the ongoing transport crisis. Now, you know that last week the Vice President herself had cause to visit the Transport Ministry to engage with the Minister and her deputy, as well as some other ministries, including the Ministry for Local Government. Now, that engagement also saw conversations with these private transport operators where the Vice President sought to understand from their perspective what are the challenges and how government can in any way support efforts by these private sector operators as well as the ministry itself, so that we can navigate this curve that we find ourselves in. So that meeting went well. However, after the Vice President left, a meeting continued between the Transport Ministry and then the private sector operators. The understanding is that that meeting was inconclusive. In fact, that has necessitated the continuation, if you like, of that meeting last week today. So the stakeholders have gathered there and they're talking about how they can deal with the concerns, talking about the scarcity of buses. The Vice President has said that she is championing efforts. Government has noticed the challenge. It is solvable, and she is championing efforts to ensure that we get more buses. We provide more buses to the Metro Mass Transport, to the Ayalolo Group, so that they can ply our roads. That's one intervention from the state. GPRTU is also saying that to solve the concern that many people have about the arbitrary fare hikes of these private sector drivers, especially during peak hours in the mornings and in the evenings, this is what they are going to do. That there's a task force in place that will try and prevent drivers from overcharging or from doing this small little pit stops agenda they are engaged in, so that they can get a lot of money. GPRTU says that they are going through with this idea so that they can let this stop, so that passengers will be paying their approved fare or the required fare, and drivers will not take advantage of what is going on. So the concern mainly is still the scarcity of buses and the behavior of some drivers and their conductors to take advantage of the situation. People are still thinking that this is a sabotage or a boycott by some of the drivers against the government, and it is not understood. They cannot understand it because based on how the economy is working right now, inflation, single digits, we're looking to go very low now. Fuel prices, we're looking at single digits as well. So they cannot understand why drivers should be wanting to take undue advantage of a better economy, if you like. So that is the conversation that has been happening over the past couple of days. But I mean, all stakeholders have gathered and they are sharing ideas, contemplating so that they can be able to find a way that will favor both, the passengers and the private sector operators as well. At the moment, we cannot say that the short-term interventions from government have started yet. We're talking about the acquiring of new buses. But in the coming months, we understand that Ayalolo, for instance, will get a few more buses, Metro Mass will get a few more buses, and they'll be put on the street so that the crisis will reduce. Until then, these are the kinds of meetings that will be had so that everybody will be comfortable enough to share ideas on how to, go out of this crisis that we find ourselves in right now, Kemini.
Crosby, we'll end it here as you keep an eye on that meeting. Crosby Annan there with the latest from the Transport Ministry, where the Transport Minister is meeting with the GPRTU on the back of the urban transportation crisis which we're facing in the capital city of Accra. Let's look at another important options to the public in the Greater Accra region, because in the face of the current public transport crisis involving shortage of vehicles, the railway system has become an alternative means for commuters, as some have called for more shuttle to aid easy movement. Christian Yale boarded a train moving from Tema to Accra to gauge the mood of passengers and highlight some challenges in the sector, including encroachment on rail lines.
It's 6:30 a.m. at Adogono, one of the train stations along the Tema-Accra rail line. People had already gathered, waiting for the arrival of the train to board. Tickets sell at 8 cedis for economy and 10 cedis for first class. Myself, I need to join this, and then my cameraman would also join me inside so that we get to move with the other passengers who are using this. And so along the way, one striking concern is the close establishment of houses and makeshift structures, as well as how sewage and sand have buried significant portions of the metallic component, which then causes derailment.
If we use the actual roads, it's more congested with cars, and these days you really get transportation to your various destinations. So the train doesn't stop that much, so I think it's better than using public transport.
It is good that the government invests in this area of transportation so that we can have an efficient transportation systems in this country.
Compared to the minute I get to the workplace, I will choose the train over the normal trotro.
This is my first time boarding a train, so I don't have much experience about how the system runs and how it is done here. But so far I'm loving it. I think it's cool. It's convenient and it's safe and it's fast. So
I've taken the train about 13 years now. So this train has been here for long.
Okay.
Yeah, it has been here for long. Now there's a new train from Tema to the Boya Fenya. There's a new train, there's a new line. But this one is old line. So the new one can now work on this one. Unless they expand this one. This is an old railway track.
Right now, there are some who have reached their destination, and so they are going to alight. See this gentleman making way or getting out of the coach. We made a number of stops at Bachona, Shangri-La and Achimota, where the head of the train was detached and moved to the other end of the train before we could head towards Circle and Accra.
The old DMU and the new DMU, you could see that we have 2 cabs at the other ends, at both ends. Yeah. Before we were having a DMU there. We started operating at somewhere 2011. Something like that, and it got spread. It is stuck at the shed there. If government can repair that one and do some rehabilitation on the line, I think we can use that one.
For some passengers, there should be more shuttles for persons who are unable to board the early one, which moves just once in a day.
Thanks, if a bit to me twice. Ebe kwa about twice and I say be away kwa na for so I follow and no be bomb kakra. There no one who say oh see there where there kwa we be ba it be train second one. I to say trotro say we twemu jawa unim second there's more car there ebe binding or better obenya bia body.
There is even more danger when you get to Accra, where traders are almost taking over the rail lines. But even as the campaign goes for deliberate investment into the sector, this particular train is aged and wobbles frequently. Even at the first class session, the ceiling fans there are rusty.
When you are coming in, you can see that there are people who have encroached, and you see these night workers, weak smokers.
So this is my third experience, and so far I can say their timing is always perfect. Like when it's our place, it's at Adegono, and they arrived there at 6:40, and before we got there, the train was already there. It's only 6:38, and it's perfect for me.
Great.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that government makes this sector, the railway sector, even more effective, so that it eases the pressure on the trotro and the regular public transportation system?
Definitely. I think last 3 weeks we decided to pick the normal car to Accra, and then we stood by the roadside for almost an hour, running around looking for just the right car to pick and all that. So yes, I would encourage the government to invest more in the railway system.
So roughly it takes you how long from Adogono, right?
1
it's
hour.
Like an hour.
Yeah.
That's where I also boarded it from, so I can testify to that.
Okay, exactly 1 hour.
Exactly 1 hour.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
The train line here is full of waste, but much more could be done to make the sector more attractive. Christian Yale, TV3 News.
Well, let's zoom out now and look at rail transport in other cities in Ghana. A few years ago, a new commuter train service linked Sekondi and Takoradi, offering a faster, cheaper alternative to the area's traffic and a boost to its economy. But that service is no longer working, leaving a silent rail track and a legacy of broken promises. Here's a report by Rama Smith.
The rumble of wheels on steel and the deep blast of its horn evokes memories of Ghana's railway heyday in the 1970s and 80s. For the older generation, there is a wave of nostalgia. For the young, a novel adventure with children boarding in wide-eyed excitement. This was the revived Sekondi Takoradi line, not merely a track, but the birthplace of Ghana's railway system, originally built to transport minerals to the coast. Commissioned with ceremony by President John Dramani Mahama, promised harbour residents a reliable and affordable commute. With brand new trains and fares capped at a few cities, patronage grew steadily, heralding what many hoped was a renaissance for rail travel in Ghana. Passenger service was entirely dependent on freight revenue, and the haulage of manganese from Nsuta was its financial lifeline. The deterioration of these freight lines and the subsequent halt of manganese trains crippled the company's finances. This collapse revealed a critical systemic flaw. The passenger service was not economically viable on its own. Consequently, by 2020, with its freight backbone gone, the diesel multiple unit DMUs at Sekondi were silenced.
From Kwame Nkrumah's time and even through Achampon's time, railways have always received subvention from government for operations. This is what we came to meet and work with. So it is government who determines the fare for rail transport, and we use that to buy fuel, but this is not forthcoming. Before the elections in 2016, we were working, but this came to a halt in 2016 because the government said it would not pay any subvention.
Today, the two terminals stand as pale shadows of their former selves. In Sekondi, the diesel multiple unit DMUs sit idle and scavenged, their copper pipes and air conditioning units stripped away. Passenger bays lie open to the elements, their roofs torn apart, while weeds and rust claim the tracks. The scene at Kojokrom is equally desolate. A terminal built for the hassle of commuters now stands frozen in time, a stark monument to neglect. Together, these sites paint a poignant picture of decline, symbolizing a cycle that has plagued Ghana's railways, ambitious launches that inevitably fade into abandonment.
For now, the railway system
The passenger train system's inefficiency has made Kojokrom less vibrant than it used to. If the government wants to leave a lasting legacy, it should complete our train service. A majority of students along the train line relied on this service to get to school. Now, it has become a white elephant.
According to Sekondi railway workers, the government's decision to prioritize the construction of the passenger-only Eastern Line over the Western Line represents a critical misallocation of resources.
I cannot understand why the rail line to Nsuta has been abandoned. Sekondi is the headquarters of the railways, so we have the workforce. If the government focused its attention on reviving this line to haul manganese from Nsuta, we could even expand the service and employ more.
Emmanuel, A railway worker describes government's decision to transfer rail workers from the western to the eastern corridor as a betrayal of the western workforce.
It is so bet my BBDR. You should maintain the workers here, go the western corridor for us.
Notwithstanding these challenges, information gathered by TV3 News confirms that government has approved the dismantling of the historic narrow gauge line between Takrady Depot and Takwa. Member of Parliament for Sikado Ketan and Deputy Minister for Health, Dr. Grace Ayinsu Dankwa, a passionate advocate for the development of the secondary Takrady metropolis, believes reviving the Western Rail line would significantly help decongest the region's roads.
I think there are two things in the Western Region Metro. It's the Western line as well as the port. If we have a port and you have a railway line that is bringing all your goods and services in and out of the port, I think it will be very helpful and also decongest our roads and let our roads last longer, decongest traffic, let movement flow, and then our goods and services can move by the rail and the port.
Passenger revival is directly tied to this expansion. Restoring the line to Takwa would reconnect mining towns to the port and create a compelling case for frequent suburban service. More connected towns mean higher ridership and greater fare revenue, creating a far more sustainable model than the previous shuttle. Irama Smith, TV3 News, Kojokum.
It's still News Central here on TV3. Let us know how your commute is going. Still on the way this afternoon. Fire rips through Dagomba Line slum in Kumasi. That's where we are headed when we return. Welcome back to News Central. Let's take you now to Kumasi, where a fire has ripped through parts of the Dagomba Line slum, reducing several makeshift structures to ashes and rendered scores of residents homeless. Although no fatalities were recorded, victims say they lost everything they own, including household items and their sources of livelihood. Just hours after the incident, residents affected by the fire have begun rebuilding using salvaged materials and whatever support they can muster in a determined effort to restore their lives despite the situation on the ground. I will connect now with Ibrahim Abubakar, who's been following the story. Ibrahim, what can you report from Dagomba Line this afternoon?
Well, I can tell you that fire outbreak in this area has become an annual ritual. Every year we have to record fire in these areas. And probably, if you look at the congested nature of the settlement and also the materials used in building, which are highly flammable. So anytime there is the slightest of fire, within some few minutes, it spreads quickly to the entire area. And as we speak, I can tell you over hundreds of wooden structures, places of abode, and even business areas have all been razed down. And people are just trying to see whether they will be able to build back. We do know that the Ghana National Fire Service have asked the victims to hold on with any building activity because they are still conducting their investigation to unravel the cause of the fire. And also, secondly, they have also informed city authorities that they should ensure, even if these squatters will be allowed to rebuild, they should ensure that it is properly done so that in an event there is a fire outbreak, they could easily access the place and be able to douse the flame. Because when the incident happened, that was one of the main challenges firefighters had to battle. Access to the place was a challenge. At a point in time, they need to use someone's residential building and even break the wall, the fence wall, so that they will be able to access that area and be able to fight the fire. But for the victims, they are saying that they have no time. Most of them were sleeping outside, and for that matter, they are in a hurry to build the structure so that they will be able to have a place to lay their heads.
I see. So our city authorities then, Ibrahim, our city authorities then ensuring that they are rebuilding the right way?
Well, they are not there. They are not even aware that the rebuilding effort is ongoing, because when we went there and we later called the city authorities, they told us they are unaware, but they will be moving there to see what is currently happening there and come out with the way forward. But earlier we spoke to some of the fire victims, and let's listen to what they've been sharing.
As for the authority, if we are to wait, we don't have place to sleep. And we don't know the time that the authority will come on. That is why we are building. So if we know that this day the authority will come and give us way to do our our work, then we wait. But we don't know the time that they will come.
Ninyina yansusu ene se de ma ejene ba no dudo na yamfa se light ana ha no etore bia discipline no ense de ni ha to obi betima so ayibisi dem no wa pi
man fa hwi kura yati yese o ha hye beba no ma sisa me kwa nyina na edwa ne ye ena me nema nyina hye.
Ibrahim, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much for the report. Ibrahim Abubakar is our Ashanti region correspondent. Now, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat has undertaken a major operation to clear rampant illegal mining activities along sections of the Kumasi-Sunyani Highway. The operation saw a 9-month task force storm several illegal mining sites stretching from the outskirts of the Ashanti region into parts of the Ahafo region. The first raid was conducted at Boni Kurum near Mankraso, where an illegal mining site located barely 30 meters from the highway between Boni Kurum and Mankraso was dismantled before the team advanced toward Edujama. Illegal miners operating at the site fled upon sighting the task force abandoning an excavator and other equipment. The task force immobilized the excavator by removing its monitor batteries and other critical components. Away from that, Board of the Volta Aluminum Company Limited, VALCO, says concerns about the privatization of the aluminum smelter has not come to its attention yet. The board further admits that the story of VALCO is a great one, that a master plan is in place to turn around the fortunes of the company.
There are allegations of government's intention to privatize the Volta Aluminium Company Limited, VALCO, as suggested by the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU. But the board is saying it has not come to its attention yet.
All it needs is support and investment. If the story is told well, investors will step in, and you know the jobs it will create. 6,000 direct jobs. We're talking about almost 10,000 indirect jobs. The scraps, the metals that are just lying about to be recycled and others. So the benefit of VALCO stands out. And like I said, it's something we should all support as a nation at this particular point.
A meeting by the board sought to proffer efficient ways of revitalizing the company. Chief Executive Officer Robert Makila Sambien is hopeful the company would bounce back.
We have a facilitator that is taking the board through corporate governance, finance for directors, and so we expect that with this empowerment, the board is now well equipped, or will be well equipped at the end of the day to discharge their functions of providing oversight and supporting management in delivering on the objectives of His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama.
There were departmental assessment of VALCO aimed at providing first-hand information to the board in its quest to maximize potential economic avenues.
They are now operating on what? 121 ports. And they're looking at even improving to 156 ports by August. And it's quite significant. So for what we have at the moment and where VALCO is now, I think that every department is doing its best to making sure that VALCO is viable.
Well, now we'll turn attention to other stories because the Accra High Court has set Friday, January 23rd, to hear the injunction application filed by the Vehicles Enforcement Association against implementation of DVLA's digital number plate system. The plaintiffs, over 30 endorsement companies, are asking the court to prevent the DVLA from implementing any alternative arrangements for the endorsement and supply of vehicle number plates outside the existing framework that involves licensed embossers. Jojo Bruce Kwanzaa is spokesperson for the group.
We're hoping that even with the adjournment, the judge would have granted our injunction. But unfortunately, you know, it's government institution. They will be losing money, so the judge is also taking those things into consideration. And so we have agreed. We are coming on Friday to see what goes on.
What is the motivation in having these numbers in court anytime the case is coming up?
Well, we told the DVLA that all over the country we have about 3,000 workers. And these are people we've been working with. I have been working with some of them for the past 10 years. Some have been working for over 20 years, some 25 years, some 30 years. So if all of a sudden, one day you ask them to go home, then what do you expect them to do? I mean, in this kind of situation, they have nowhere to go. So we ask them to come to court so that the DVLA will see that it's not just talk, but we actually have the staff.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, for many people, the small numbers beneath plastic bowls, bottles and takeaway packs mean nothing at all. Some have never noticed them, others see them but ignore. But what if these tiny codes are quietly linked to our health, guiding which plastics are safer for hot food, cold food, drinks, or single use? Samuel Yeboah Adams explored the importance of the numbers beneath your plastic ware.
Plastic containers have become unavoidable in everyday life. From the water we buy on the street, the food we pick up in town, meals served at events, to how we store leftovers in the fridge or warm food in the microwave. Most of these containers have small numbers underneath them. However, not everyone is aware of the existence of these numbers or what they mean.
I don't really know. Actually, I do check. But because, well, it comes with numbers without no inscription, that maybe this number indicates this. But this one is just an indication of a number without anything, actually explaining to you what the number symbolizes.
I don't know about plastic numbers. When you look at it, some of them is written there that this is microwavable or not. It's going to be show you there, because if you use the one that is not meant to be microwave, you put it inside there, it's going to melt and it's harmful to health.
I didn't even know there were numbers on plastics, so anything I get, any plastic I get, I use it anyhow.
Known as resin identification code, they are embedded in the chasing arrow symbol, normally written underneath plastic containers. They form the DNA profile of a plastic product and serve as a guide on how plastic containers should be used. The resin identification code also indicates to consumers whether plastics can hold cold or hot food or can be used in microwaves. They also inform manufacturers on whether a plastic product can be recycled. In general, resin identification code tell consumers the safety of what they are consuming in plastics. Regulators say that this gap in awareness matters. The Ghana Standards Authority agrees that resin identification codes are important. Prosla Santua Boateng is a scientific officer at the GSA.
Generally, they are supposed to aid the consumer on what they are buying or what they are consuming. So
Story later. Let's head now to the Transport Ministry, where that meeting between the minister and the GPRTU has ended. Noble, what can you report from there?
Oh, Noble, Kemini, the meeting just ended because we've seen Abbas Moro from the GPRTU. So let's have Alhaji Abbas Moro from the GPRTU. Let's have a quick conversation with him. Alhaji, thank you. You're live on TV3. How was the meeting?
Oh, very fruitful. I would say very fruitful.
Why? What made it fruitful? What were some of the outcomes?
Yes, what we were thinking of didn't get to problem for any of us, because what we thought of were agreed immediately. It is being presented. Everybody agrees to that.
So what did you present?
Well, it is about those introducing short. This is not what we've been practicing for ages now. We don't do that. And then others also introducing charging the normal fare during the normal days, when at rush hour then they change the fare. We just look at it. First, we all agreed to reintroduce the car stickers. GPRT, you have to make sure we use the stickers back to our members. Any other transport organization will also use the stickers for their members. For instance, from Accra to Abekan, if my union has 50 members, we have to make sure we give out 50 stickers. And your name is?
Crosby.
Crosby is number one. Then we know we've issued our sticker number 1 to Crosby. Kweku number 2, we know we've issued sticker number 2 to Kweku Sam. In order that nobody will just forge your stickers and use it wrongly and create problem for your union.
So what will the stickers solve?
To solve the problem of people charging above what they are supposed to charge.
So it means all the drivers who have your stickers cannot charge above the regular.
The regular amount that they are supposed to charge.
Okay, so that's one of...
Secondly, the short, everybody has route registration. If I've registered from Accra to Abekan, I might not be loading circle to create problem for those who are going to Abekan. If I run here to Amasama, I might not be in a position to be running circle, then from circle Achimata, then from Achimata St. John to create problem for pedestrians.
Okay, so that's one of the problems. Yes. The other bit is about the concern of scarcity of the buses. What was the conversation like?
We have some unions whom we've noticed they have many buses in the sense that they could all not work. All of them could not work at the same time on the same day. Okay. So they have shift A and shift B. If shift A works today, Monday, tomorrow, it is the term of shift B. Okay. Then the next day, they reverse. And we've also promised to get back to those unions, make sure they will deploy the shift buses to other routes. Although they run from Accra to Odoko or any other place, the other shifts which are not supposed to work today, we are going to plead with them to make sure tomorrow, although they are not supposed to work tomorrow, but tomorrow we needed their services. We are going to put them from Accra to Kasua, Accra to Amasama, Accra to Medina, etc., so that they will also beef up to avoid the short and avoid others charging more than what they are supposed to
these
charge.
Solutions you're proposing, when should we see them take effect?
Yes, we've started even calling some. So tomorrow we are meeting with them. If you come to the Greater Accra Regional Secretariat, you see us working on that. So we've started calling them. Tomorrow we'll meet with GPRT, we have welfares. The welfares means all the unions working at the thermal station, they belong to one welfare. They have their leadership, which will call them and speak to them on the proposals of what we are talking about now.
We understand that you're also going to deploy some task forces in order to enforce...
Yes, to make sure those who are charging above should be a thing of the past, because that is totally cheating. You are not supposed to take 5 cedis from somebody. Instead of 5 cedis, you are taking 10 cedis.
So when will we see those?
Well, we are immediately going to call our people tomorrow. So we started informing them on tomorrow's emergency meeting.
The last time you also spoke about the fact that you need support, including budgetary allocation. Have you had that discussion with the minister, and what did he say?
We spoke to the minister as well on it, because we are playing about 90%. The private sector, we are playing about 90% of the transport industry. And if the government is going to buy vehicle for STC, Ayalolo, and Metro Mass, and leave who are taking about 5% and leave the 90%, I mean, we believe it is not in the right direction. So we spoke to them about it, and the government promised to help in that way also.
Thank you very much.
So, Kemini, that's Abbas Moro, the Alhaji Abbas Moro from the GPRTU. So, that's it. That'll be it because of time. We'll end the conversation here, but of course, in the subsequent bulletins, we'll have a longer conversation with Abbas Moro on some of the key outcomes of this meeting and what next the GPRTU has to do, plus what the state or what the Transport Ministry also asked of the GPRTU so that they can, in their best way possible, of course, collaboratively solve this transport crisis. Back to you, Kemini.
You're absolutely right, Crosby. Thank you so much for that report. This is a story we'll see more of in later newscasts. Right now, however, that's it for News Central. Thank you so much for your company. I'm Kemini, and I'll see you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.